I'm really excited to be here. I'm an artist by profession, and my passion always has to do with connection and what I call the miracle or the flip. And in my experience, there's the rowing against reality, rowing against the stream, and sooner or later, something occurs in my mind and the minds of people that I've been around, where all of a sudden they have turned the boat around and they're going with the flow, and the realization of God's love or bliss or this immense gratitude occurs. And sometimes that occurs through just staring in my wife's eyes or in a friend's eyes, and all of a sudden, all of the stuff that was going the wrong way lines up and goes the right way. And my first question has to do with, it seems to be different for me, the last few steps before that flip occurs, seem to be rage at God, feeling angry that I'm being deprived in some way. Or and then after, if I'm willing to feel that, the next thing that seems to arise is usually some kind of a heartbreak, and then all of a sudden I can feel God's love. Now that's different than the process that you describe consistently, where it goes from anger to frustration to I guess I forgot depression, and eventually it gets to allowing. And I just wanted you to address the difference in those two, and why is my experience so different than the one that you described?
Because you like drama.
Okay.
But let us explain it to you from the laws as we understand them to be.
Yeah.
So, as you stand wherever you are, and you know that you don't want that, which means you do want that. Mm-hmm. And almost as soon as you identify that you don't want that and that you do want that, you turn your undivided attention to what you do want. So you just begin flowing in the direction of it. So it's sort of like you ask and it's given, you ask and it's given, you ask and it's given, you ask and it's given. But sometimes, depending upon how you've been taught, how much struggle has been reinforced into your experience, how much drama you like, sometimes you know what you don't want, which causes you to know what you do want, but you really know what you don't want, which causes you to really know what you do want, but you really know what you don't want, which causes you to really know what you do want, but you really know what you don't want. You really, really, really know what you don't want. Don't you know what you don't want? Don't you know? Let's see if I can find an online chat group that agrees with me about what we do not want. Let's join those groups about what we do not want. Why would God do something so awful to us? In other words, as you dramatize what you do not want, law of attraction continues to respond to you. And so what's happening is the stakes are getting more. In other words, a really knowing what you don't want gives birth to a really knowing what you do want. Now, here is the most exciting thing about your powerful question. The more you live life, the more you dig into it, every time you know what you don't want, you cause your stream to go faster, because every time you know what you do want, you're asking, even if you don't stop and say, what I want is, there is an implied, understood knowing by the universe of what you are asking for. And so the non-physical part of you is becoming. And by the nature of the drum that you're beating, you're not coming along. But remember, this is not Disneyland, and you can't turn the stream off. And so the stream is flowing faster and faster and faster and faster. And sooner or later, you gotta sleep. Okay. Or something will happen that will distract you for a moment. In other words, a little bit of allowing goes a long way in a very fast-moving stream, you see. And so that's the flip that you're talking about.
Yeah, it definitely feels like exactly what you're talking about. And sometimes I just spend time with my wife looking into her eyes, or a friend looking into their eyes, and I'll notice all the paddling against, and then all of a sudden I can start to feel what feels like grace, and it's now moving in
Well,
the
what
direction
that is a meditative process. In other words, when you're doing something like staring into someone's eyes, that's paramount to deep breathing. That's paramount to putting your brain on pause. That's the same sort of thing as meditation. When you quiet your mind, you stop thought. When you stop thought, you stop resistant thought. When you stop resistant thought, that's that flip you're talking about.
Okay.
That's that turning in the stream.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
And friends, there is not anything wrong with letting life cause you to give birth to more and more desires. We are not for a moment suggesting that you should just, in a limp way, want and get, want and get, want and get, want and get. We understand. You have come forth because you understand the power of the contrast. You know that big desires are born out of bigger contrast. And you love the feeling of big desires. One of the things that Esther has been most annoyed with us about is that she remembers wanting things from a place of not believing that they could happen. And she remembers the drama of those desires. And she remembers thinking that if something that big could happen, how it would just take my breath away. And it annoys her that things can't happen when there's that much distance between what she's asking for and what her belief or expectation is. It's annoying that she has to get into the place of fully expecting it, so it's just the next logical step before it happens, because she, like you, like all of you, does like the drama of it. But we promise you, once you get into the rhythm of remembering law of attraction, and once you deliberately, day by day, you see, we're not teaching you how to line up with your energy so that you'll get your stuff. Oh, you'll get your stuff. The manifestations must come, but we're not teaching you to line up with your desire so that the manifestations will occur. We're encouraging you to get moving in the direction, because the ride on the river is what you really, really want. Esther had a salad in a restaurant in Eugene, Oregon not so long ago, and they were so tuned in. They'd had such a wonderful day. They were in love with each other and in love with the restaurant and in love with the people that they had come to see again on another visit, and so they were making friends with people that they'd seen before. And when the waiter put the salad down, Esther felt ripples go all up through her body, and she said, "What is in that salad?" And we say, when you're already tuned in, when you are allowing yourself to be in the vibrational alignment with who you really are, then everything that you are living feels like that. Then you can receive those insightful, come this way, come this way, come this way. And your inner being is always calling you toward the culmination of that which you have set into motion. But we don't want you, and sometimes it happens. You hear stories like that, or you have experiences like that, and then you're bummed out when you're over here beating a negative drum and not feeling like that. And we want you to feel all right no matter where you are. We want you to give yourself the benefit of the doubt and make peace with where you are, wherever it is. And in that attitude, you'll just keep turning, and you'll just keep turning until you'll begin to live a predominant amount of life right there, close to that vibrational becoming, hearing the call of Source guiding you minutely, infinitesimally, step by step toward all of the things that you're wanting. And that really is what you planned. You wanted life to be like that for you. You didn't intend to make it hard. You intended to feel the blessing that you know you are deserving of. And when you're hearing that voice, you're in that mode.
Yeah,
good.
Absolutely.
Yes, very good.
So, when you described the salad, my heart burst into tears of gratitude for hearing your words, because to me, that's the goal, and often the feedback that I get for the artworks that I create, that they're like this salad that illuminates people's lives.
Well, everything about that salad had been grown. It had been growing in a garden that morning. It had been carefully gathered by someone who cared about what they were delivering to them, and had been carried in a basket and carefully washed and then carefully arranged. In other words, all of the intention that had been placed around that salad was such a vibrational match to the appreciation that Jerry and Esther were flowing. And so it was that exchange, and that's the way you are intending to live life. But our message to you is, if you're not feeling that way, it's okay too. Just do the best you can from where you are, and eventually that will predominate. Very
Awesome.
good. So you see, the work is not the difficult thing you have been thinking that it is. It isn't about figuring it out all at once. And it isn't about solving the problems of the world, or even about solving your own problems. It's about recognizing that the solutions are already there. It's about recognizing that the answers to your questions are already there. is about recognizing that your fortunes have already amassed and your lovers are already queued up for you. It's about recognizing that vibration has preceded you, because when you ask, it is given. And now your work is to allow what has been given in. You cannot get it wrong. You've heard us say that a few times here. And something that we've been feeling from you, it's really an interesting thing. So many of you come to this paradise in the quest to relax and lay back, and then you become the most intense people on the planet. You are so determined to find your freedom that you fight for it in ways you don't need to fight for it. In every bit of fight or struggle or quest, you're pointed upstream. In every bit of relaxing and allowing and breathing and trusting, you are downstream. When you hope, you're more downstream than when you doubt. When you appreciate, you are more downstream than when you criticize. When you laugh, you are always more downstream than when you cry. When you look into your past, you are usually more upstream than downstream. When you look into your future, you are usually more downstream than upstream. When you look into your now, where all of your power is, you have the choice. But the choice isn't a great thought as opposed to a bad feeling thought. The choice is only a slightly better or a slightly worse feeling thought. And that's what you want to tune yourself to. You want to tune yourself to, is this an improved thought or not? Esther is driving down the highway in the monster bus with the car in tow, wailing at speeds we cannot tell you. We really can't tell you. The speedometer doesn't go that far sometimes. And Jerry is in the back, clinging to life, doing some project, working on something. And Esther will think of something that she wants to tell him. But he can't hear her. She was honking the horn, but it was scaring drivers off into the bushes. So she found a button that she can push, that when she pushes it, it turns all the lights on. And when she pushes it again, it turns all the lights off. So he sees the lights go on and off, and he realizes Esther has something to say. So he puts away whatever he's doing and makes his way all the way to the front of the bus and says, yes, you have something you want to say? And Esther sometimes says, oh, never mind. It was an upstream thought. And we say, isn't it nice that he was all the way in the back of the bus? Because if he'd been sitting right there next to her, she just would have blurted it out. And then he would have either agreed, which would have made it more upstream, or disagreed, which would have made it more upstream for Esther. In other words, when you've got an upstream thought and you start talking about it, it always becomes more upstream. But the fact that it took him a while to get there gave her an opportunity to realize that it was upstream and to begin making another decision. And that's what we wish for you. We wish for you to realize that you have an option of feeling a little worse or feeling a little better. And that's all that the art of allowing is. And as you make the decision to feel better as much as you can, before you know it, all that stuff that's been lined up outside your door, all that stuff that's floating free in the river, all that stuff that the universe has orchestrated on your behalf begins to flow into your experience. You rendezvous with the answers to your questions. You rendezvous with the solutions to your problems. You rendezvous with your lovers and your fortunes and your wonderful times of life. You rendezvous with what you deserve and have deserved all along. And we take such delight in watching the rendezvous. But do you know? We're taking delight already in what you've amassed. And if you have to croak before you catch up, that's fine with us. But this gathering is about showing you how to catch up now, if it is your desire. We've enjoyed this interaction immensely. There is great love here for you. We are complete. Yes. Yes.